What's up, everybody? I'm Jeffrey Hessler. Welcome back to the channel. It's been a long time. I know. I'm so sorry, guys, but we're getting back to this. Formerly known as Jeff Hess CFB on this channel, but I decided to rebrand to On the Gridiron Podcast. If you don't know what On the Gridiron is, it's basically just football field. That's what they call a football field. If you don't know that, I'm sorry. But the reason I did that is because I didn't want to limit myself to only college football. I got a lot of people who watch these videos and, they watch college football and everything like that. But I'm an NFL guy myself. I love fantasy football. I love NFL football. So we're going to be covering NFL stuff. We're going to be covering fantasy stuff. Tomorrow I'm going to get into some waiver wire ads for my fantasy football players out there. We're going to talk NFL draft when it comes. We're going to talk NFL free agency, trades, whatever. High school recruiting, high school players to look out for. We did that this past summer already. So not only college football anymore, not am I going to go by Jeff Hess CFB. This is now On the Gridiron Podcast because I like to talk about more than just college football. I'd like to expand, I just love football. So if you love football too, please check out some of my videos. Subscribe to the channel, leave me some feedback. But today, we're going to be talking about the college football playoff rankings that just came out last night. A lot hasn't changed, but we're going to get into some things, some scenarios that could possibly play out, and just our overall thoughts on the rankings. I heard some people upset last night about who's over who and whatnot. We're going to get into that stuff. So if you please could, drop a like on this video, leave a comment. If you have anything you want to say, anything I should discuss, whatever. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. But we're going to hop right into it, guys. So I'm going to just go ahead and let you guys know now. We're only going to talk about the top 10 teams. I'm not going to go through all top 25. If you want to go see the top 25, you can go ahead and go look at the top 25 yourself. No offense to those guys, but we're just going to talk about the top 10 because honestly, the only thing that really matters is the top 7 right now. So, no surprise here. Georgia comes in at number 1, Ohio State number 2, Michigan number 3, TCU number 4. Top 4 did not change at all. We're going to get into some scenarios that could play out there. Coming in at number 5, we got Tennessee, followed by LSU, USC, Alabama, Clemson, and Utah. That is your top 10, guys. And first off, I'm going to jump into Clemson being behind Alabama because David Pollack seemed to have a problem with that on the college football playoff ranking show last night. Me personally, I don't care that Alabama has 2 losses. They're a better team than Clemson. Okay, if you don't remember, Clemson just got absolutely housed on the road against Notre Dame, okay? Notre Dame lost to Marshall, and I know it's a different team. Notre Dame lost to Marshall. Notre Dame lost to Marshall. Notre Dame lost to Marshall. You got housed by Notre Dame, okay? That is an embarrassing loss. I don't care what you say. Alabama is a better team than Clemson. If you don't agree with me, tell me why in the comments. I don't care. Okay. Anyways, moving on from that, we're going to play out this possibility of a 2-loss LSU team making it into the playoffs, okay? And everybody's just assuming, whoever, Ohio State and Michigan, they're on a complete crash course. It's going to be a great game coming up next week. I'm going to make some videos about that as well, keys to what Michigan's got to do to win, what Ohio State's got to do to win, stuff like that. But LSU, if LSU beats Georgia in the SEC championship game, then the playoff committee is kind of left with, what do we do now? Well, I'm going to tell you what they do now. They either put Tennessee in or they put LSU in, which I think LSU would be more deserving, even though Tennessee has a head-to-head with LSU. But I don't care. If you beat the number 1 team in the country and then you also beat Alabama, which Tennessee also did, Tennessee does have a head-to-head win against LSU where they whacked LSU. I just don't care. I don't. The SEC champion is going to get in before Tennessee, who didn't even play during the SEC championship. You know what I mean? And not to mention, LSU just beat Georgia, who Tennessee lost to. And that's if LSU wins the SEC championship. Okay? But I don't think necessarily people think that Ohio State, Michigan's loser, could get into the playoffs regardless of the outcome. Okay? And I'm here to tell you that is not true. I will not be surprised if the committee leaves one of them out because they will do that. Okay, we're not the SEC. We're the Big Ten. It's just unrealistic. They show more love to the SEC. It is what it is. I think both teams should get in if it's a close loss. If Michigan loses close, I think they should get in. If Ohio State loses close, I think they should get in. The only scenario I can see one not getting in is if the other gets blown out. And I could also see them not putting Michigan in the playoffs just simply because their strength of schedule is not good. They have a ranked win against Penn State, so does Ohio State, okay? But Ohio State also has more ranked. They have Notre Dame, they have Penn State, and if they beat Michigan, they'll also be on there. So that's why I could see Michigan getting left out even with the close loss. They haven't shown to play anybody halfway competitive. When I say that, I mean their opponent hasn't. They played UConn. I mean Michigan State. They had a close game with Michigan State, who's not even bowl eligible right now. So Tennessee could end up hopping in there, being at the 5 seed right now, and a lot of people won't like that at all. And that's just what it is, guys. The playoff committee don't care. They want views, they want money, and that's all they care about. They were gonna put the SEC champion in there regardless, and that's why I said if LSU wins the SEC, they're going in. If they really wanted to, they'd find a way to put Bama in there if they really could. If Tennessee was sitting there at 5, I'm sure they'd find a reason why Alabama is deserving at 8-2 or whatever they are to make it into the playoff, which I don't think this Bama team is very impressive at all. You can say it's an impressive win when you beat Alabama just because of past, but we're really just going off of brand here, okay? The brand of Alabama is great. The brand of Nick Saban is great. Former Heisman winner Bryce Young is great. But this team is a few plays away from being a 5-loss team. And you could also make the argument they're a few plays away from being undefeated too, but they're not. And that is what it is. A terrible roughing the passer call against Texas. Quinn Ewers goes down. I think that game is completely different. And we're sitting here talking about Alabama being at least a 3-loss team with that. Speaking of Texas, TCU absolutely shut that Texas team down. Made a statement. The College Football Committee thought they were a one-dimensional team and couldn't win a defensive battle game, and they did. Okay, held Texas 3 points. It was a great showing for their defense. But TCU could also get hopped if TCU loses. So TCU has to win out. I don't think they're going to show much respect to TCU regardless. I think they'll stay at 4 even with the Big 12 championship. I think they're going to be the sacrificial lamb of Georgia. That's just how I see this one playing out. But here's the interesting thing here. If USC wins out, I do not see another SEC school hopping in there regardless. I don't see Tennessee, even if LSU wins the SEC championship. I just can't see it. And here's why. Coming up, USC plays number 16 UCLA, number 18 Notre Dame, okay? Their one loss was Utah, who's sitting at number 10 currently. Who knows what will play out with the Pac-12 championship. There's literally so many loopholes that I'm not going to get into right now. Maybe I'll make another video about it. But there's literally absolute madness if Oregon loses this weekend. I believe it is. Yeah, if Oregon loses, or no, if Oregon beats Utah, there's going to be a 4-way tie in the Pac-12, and it's going to go to this and that. And so we're just not going to get into that. But overall, nothing really changed here in the playoff rankings. I think there's 3 teams really, Michigan, Ohio State, and Georgia, that have solidified themselves as top-tier teams. Tennessee, although their offense is as good as it is, I just don't see Tennessee competing with the Michigan. I don't see Tennessee beating Ohio State or Michigan. They don't have any defense at all. I've seen people comparing them to 2019 LSU, but I see more 2021 Ohio State in that team. And that's simply because they're a great offense but can't stop a soul on defense. And you've seen what Georgia did when they just lined up and they punched them in the mouth over and over and over. Couldn't get anything to go on the offensive side of the ball. And that's respect to Georgia's defense. Georgia's defense is great, but Tennessee's defense, not very great. Clemson, don't see a way for them to get into the playoff. They got North Carolina maybe in the ACC championship down the road. That should be an interesting one. I'm surprised North Carolina hasn't gotten more recognition. They're a one-loss team. That one loss is Appalachian State, I believe, which is probably why they, But anyways, they also have absolutely no defense. Drake May is a great player. He might end up in the transfer portal. Who knows? Teams like Alabama might need a quarterback next year. Who knows? But that family runs deep in North Carolina, so I wouldn't be surprised if he stays. But if Mac Brown can figure out something on the defensive side, just maybe the ACC champion can sneak in there. Other than that, guys, I mean, we're on a crash course for Ohio State and Michigan. We'll know more about this playoff and everything else when Ohio State and Michigan plays next week. It'll be a great game, so make sure you guys stay tuned for the video on that. I'll be making a video on that. But that's all we're going to talk about today on this video about the playoff rankings. Like I said, nothing really changed. I went into some things that could happen and whatnot. But tomorrow, fantasy football waiver wire. A lot of guys on buys next week. We got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, both on buys that are 2 of the top fantasy receivers in NFL right now. We got the Bucs wide receivers on the buy. We got Leonard Fournette. I mean, bunch of buys next week. So we're going to talk about some Fantasy Wire ads that you guys can go ahead and get. I'm not telling you they're going to drop 20 plus points for you, okay? I'm not saying they're going to win you a fantasy championship. I'm just saying if you might get 10 points out of them if you're lucky, you know what I mean? So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video, comment if you have anything you want to add, if anything you want to talk about, whatever, we'll do that. So y'all have a great